court of arbitration set to decide on the fate of Vinesh Fogart in the wrestling in the Indian Olympics, which has just happened. We are joined by senior advocate Rahul Mehra, who appears for Vinesh Fogart in the Delhi High Court and is also an expert in sports law, as to what exactly happened in the Vinesh Fogart's case and what exactly is expected tomorrow when the court is set to pronounce its verdict. So my first question to you would be, that what do you see that where Indian Olympic has gone wrong, and the timing of the filing of the plea was because of the pro bono lawyers and not by the Indian Olympic Association?
Yeah, so my information based on my reliable sources, both in India and in Paris, is that, there was a huge laxity at the part of all the authorities, Indian authorities. We all saw how distraught, dismayed, upset, and completely broken Vinesh was after the disqualification. Rather than giving a shoulder to her to rest on, which is what is expected of all the officials who are in Paris, it's not a freebie or some kind of an excursion tour that they are on. This is serious business. It's Olympics. And therefore, one would have expected that the officials at the very top of the IOA, because the Wrestling Federation of India is a suspended body, so therefore one couldn't really expect much from them. But nevertheless, that body's suspended body's president Sanjay Singh, who's a close aide of Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, was also there, though huge questions need to be asked as to what was a suspended body's federation's president doing on on the list of approved by the Government of India. So Government of India really, Sports Ministry needs to answer that question. But be that as it may, IOA was mainly responsible because all Olympic events happen under the National Olympic Committee. National Olympic Committee in India is the Indian Olympic Association, and therefore the top officials of IOA who are present in Paris ought to have given that shoulder of support to any athlete who was in a similar condition. Forget Vinesh. But obviously, the problem out here is the complete lack of accountability, unprofessionalism, opaqueness, and the chalta hai attitude that is so deep-rooted in every federation of India, including the IOA. And, the only thing that they keep doing is how to manage the narrative, how to firefight, how to control things going out of hand. And unfortunately, in this case, they thought that initially they will be able to misguide people into a direction that everything has been done by the authorities. But if my sources' information is correct, and which seems to be because nobody has so far questioned it or given any contrarian view on that, based on facts and figures and evidence. So therefore, the chronology is the following. On Wednesday, last Wednesday, I think it was August 7th, if I'm not mistaken, the disqualification happened after the weigh-in. You actually, under the Court of Arbitration for Sports, these are ad hoc courts which are set up within the Olympic Village, and so that players or athletes who don't have the wherewithal, and in case they want to challenge something, there is a complete panel of pro bono lawyers of the host country. In this case, Paris and French lawyers were the ones who were a part of those of that panel. So my information is that 4 of those panel lawyers, pro bono, pursuant to Vinesh's wanting to challenge the verdict, took the matter to and filed on her behalf the appeal before CAS. Now, just imagine if the deadline is over. Vinesh Fogart is not in a position because she is completely distraught and dismayed. She's shaken, broken, or you can use all kinds of adjectives. And the time period goes by, irrespective of whom you field after that, because the timeline is that almost 24 to 36 hours later, when the narrative was being disturbed and was difficult to handle for IOA in India, there was a lot of backlash as to what the authorities were doing. Somehow, India's top legal counsel, Mr. Harish Salve, was roped in. But my question to the authorities is, specifically IOA, were they sleeping, or was it intentional? Either which way, they are culprits, and they have lots to question, to answer, and there are questions which are actually facing them. Question number one: why is it? Don't they know that the CAS exists? Don't they know the rules and the regulations of every Olympic Games? Don't they understand that? Don't they have tutorials back in India before they go to Olympics, that in case there is a verdict which needs to be challenged, and there could be a on mat while the match is going on, you could challenge it, right? There is that kind of a situation also, which the rules provide for.
And so is it correct to say that it was Indian Olympic Association who was responsible for the mess that Vinesh Phogat is facing right now?
Primarily the Wrestling Federation of India, because they are the ones who manage and run the wrestling. But since Wrestling Federation is suspended by none other than the Government of India itself, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, so therefore you can't really expect a suspended body to be the one who would take all the calls. And therefore, since the Olympic event, National Olympic Committee, which in this case is the Indian Olympic Association, is primarily the body which governs the entire field, therefore IOA has to be held accountable and responsible for this particular fiasco.
So this United Federation of Wrestling allows the tolerance of 2 kgs of weight up and down. So don't Olympics Association know about it, that these kind of rules should be common for all and not for one federation and not for another federation?
No, so there is a difference there. The 2 kg rule is not applicable to these kind of multi-sport international events. Under the United World Wrestling, which is the international parent body of wrestling across globally, there is a rule that which Article 11 of the rules and Article 56 talks about the weigh-ins, while this 2 kg rule which you are referring to is applicable to only certain events and certain tournaments, not the Olympics. Now, which is what has been questioned, again according to my sources, which I understand are very reliable, and the arguments which have been placed before CAS. One of the arguments is that why is it that 2 kgs is allowed elsewhere, but the same 2 kgs is not allowed in this event, for the simple reason that if the premise of providing 2 kgs allowance to a weigh-in athlete, while the athlete is being weighed in, is that there could be a variance in body weight, and it is extremely harmful to the health of the athlete, and health being paramount for an athlete. It can't be argued that you can actually do away with your health parameters and yet play sports. Olympic values, Olympism talks about health being paramount. Now, if that be the case, why are these two different parameters being adopted? Number two, what is the scientific basis behind which there is a variance which has been given? Variance in the sense that till 2018, the very same international body, UWW, had the rules that the bouts shall take place in one day. But then they thought that since there are going to be 4 bouts for an individual in a day, if the person goes right to the top, then it would be cruel on the health of the individual, and which is why they brought in the second day. Now, if in the first day you're giving 30 minutes as weigh-in, why is it that you're giving 15 minutes on the second day as weigh-in? Because those 15 minutes could have been critical to shed this 100 grams. Who knows, within those 15 minutes it could have been shed or not. So therefore, there are numerous questions which the international body has to answer. The limited question is whether all of this would be looked at sympathetically, and also in case the UWW international body fails to give a logical, plausible reason backed by science and facts and figures which support the decision taken by them to change in 2018 from a single day to 2 days. If they are unable to do so, I think Vinesh will win. All in all, I feel that it's an arguable case. Obviously, nobody knows what the verdict tomorrow is going to be. It's a billion plus people who are praying for Vinesh. Everybody, whether she wins, she loses, irrespective of that, she's a huge winner. She's occupied a place in the heart of every single individual, whether that individual in India follows sport or doesn't follow sport. She's a champion. She lives in our heart, and she shall continue to live in our heart. That's what Vinesh has done. Olympics will come, Olympics will go. Not many people even remember who in the last 3 Olympics were the bronze or silver medalists. But she has created a special place in the heart of every individual through her resilience, through her fight, for the simple reason that she was fighting on the streets just a few months back, if you remember. And from there to take the world champions, Para-American champion, European champion, back to back in 3 bouts, and defeat them legitimately without using any unfair means. And it's not a case of doping or a age fraud or something like that, where some cheating has happened because of which she's won the bout. It's fair, square, legitimate, under the rules, and that's how Vinesh has beaten the world's best. So therefore, the least she deserves is a silver medal.
So this IOA President PT Usha's comment over the disqualification of Vinesh Fogart, saying that it was the responsibility of the athlete and not for anybody. So what do you say about that?
You know, I have great respect for Dr. PT Usha. I was a child when she missed that by a whisker, right, in the Olympics. And we all felt so sad. What we are feeling for Vinesh, we felt for PT Usha. Imagine, she didn't win a medal, but she, again, like Vinesh, earned that respect from each and every Indian. And even till date, we remember her for that. Now, the least one would have expected, on 2 counts. One, women to women. I mean, women in this country are treated very, very badly. You know, there are challenges, and the entire system is misogynist. You're actually fighting the entire thought process in our country, which is quite unfortunate. Now, one would have expected that a woman would actually be able to understand the space and the fight and the challenges under which Vinesh has come up. You also know that there have been challenges over the last 1.5 years where she has been fighting for the right cause, sexual harassment against her own peers, by an individual who was then the president. And now, the current president, through an absolutely fake, bogus, doctored, manufactured verdict, has taken over as the president, thankfully suspended by the government of India, that body. Now, Dr. P.T. Usha should have had a heart, a larger heart. And she should have at least waited for the verdict tomorrow. Even if she holds this opinion. But this opinion shows what? That there is a huge bias in the entire top hierarchy of Indian Olympic Association against Vinesh Fogart. For what reason? For speaking out against the atrocities, for speaking out against criminals, for speaking out against what is right. If that is her fault, then yes, she is culprit and she should be taken to the gallows. But one would have expected Dr. P.T. Usha to have a heart for a fellow athlete. She has been an ace athlete, so is Vinesh. Have some respect for athlete to athlete, number one. And number two, simply because the masters that be are asking you to do certain things, you're not supposed to do that. You're a legend. Have your own, have your own say. Don't bow down to the powers that be. Don't bend backwards just to save your own office. The space that you occupy in our heart is far bigger, more powerful than any office that IUA or any other office will provide you. So don't reduce a legend like you to a pawn in the hands of the powers that be. It's unfortunate. All I can say is this might even impact the verdict. How do we know that this won't impact the verdict? So is it intentional? I hope not. If it is not intentional, and if it is inadvertent lapse on part of Dr. P.T. Usha, I think a legend becomes even more legendary if you come out and say, well, it was a lapse on my part. I apologize. To seek an apology just shows your character or strength of character. Apology doesn't mean you're weak. Apology means that you are even stronger than everybody ever thought you to be. So I think it's a sad day. It's a sad commentary on how athletes treat athletes right at the topmost level as an elite.
So coming back to the Wrestling Federation case that the Delhi High Court has asked the response. So what is this case about? And since it involves Vinesh Fogart also in person who has challenged this, so tell us more about that case, sir.
Yeah, so initially, about a year and a half back, Vinesh, Bajrang, and Sakshi, and many others wanted to take the Wrestling Federation of India to court. I had actually discouraged them for the simple reason that I thought these are legends and their place is on a court elsewhere, not inside a court of law. And they also felt that probably we should give the authorities a chance to amend their ways, and maybe they understand their pain and their grief. Unfortunately, again, the powers that be completely looked the other way. It was more like an ostrich kind of a behavior where you dig your head in the sand and you feel that everything will sort it out itself. That didn't happen. And I think people misread the resilience and the sense of purpose of Bajrang, Vinesh, and others. When nothing happened second time around, and they were given assurances right at the very top, and those assurances were not met, then they had no other option. Like any other citizen of the country, the last recourse is a court of law. And with a heavy heart, they were taken to court, and they filed this petition against the Wrestling Federation of India, the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, seeking, an appointment of an administrator, and that the elections which have been held earlier to be declared null and void for the reason that in my own public interest litigation, which I filed as Rahul Mehra versus Union of India, there's a landmark judgment now of 16th of August 2022, which gives a complete reform process as to what all needs to be read in to the sports code. So a sports code came out in 2011, but it's not a static document. And the government has the court, division bench of the Delhi High Court has interpreted the sports code in this landmark judgment of mine. So I had argued for Vinesh and Bajrang and others in the High Court that particular application seeking interim reliefs, and we had sought that Sanjay Singh should be immediately stopped from representing WFI, which he unauthorizedly continues to do so, and the Government of India, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, chooses to see the other way. In principle, they have suspended Sanjay Singh, but in practice, they are allowing him to continue, and that can't be permitted. We also asked for intervention of the court to pass an order requesting that directions be passed against Sanjay Singh and WFI that they will not engage with the United World Wrestling Body because they were trying to obtain certain documents and certain letters which would then eventually prejudice the case and also prejudice the interests of the athletes and especially wrestlers out here. And there were many other prayers. Unfortunately, for almost 2.5 months, the arguments continued, which could have been actually heard over a single day. And since it was such an important issue, resulting also talking about selection process as to how Vinesh feels that, and Bajrang already has put that on record that his probably drinking water or whatever the drink that he was having was spiked to declare him to be a person who's using unfair means and doping. So they had this kind of a suspicion and apprehension from the officials of the sitting president and his aides, who are all very close proxies of Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. Now, despite all of this, it took 2.5 months. And then on 24th of May, the Honorable Single Judge of the Delhi High Court reserved the orders. And unfortunately, I had to go back to the court just before, immediately after she was suspended to request the court. Actually, we went 10 days before the Olympics started that please pass that verdict. It's been lying pending for almost 2 months now. And we reminded and requested the court to do so. That didn't happen. And then this entire fiasco came up. And Sanjay Singh was still giving bites out there, and he was still probably trying to do a lot of things out there. So I had to immediately rush to the court to mention to the same judge that it's about time that verdict should be passed. So I'm just hoping, keeping our fingers crossed, that that verdict will come sooner or later.
So you've filed so many cases with regards to the Indian Olympic Association. It was pending in the Supreme Court also. So what kind of malpractices that you are looking for? Because Supreme Court has also intervened at larger stage, have made Justice Nageshwar Rao as an in charge also of all the elections of the process. So what do you exactly want to highlight in what is the problem in the Indian Olympic Association?
So I have only filed 2 PILs in my life in sports, but those have been so well researched and investigated that I've been, with the grace of God, I've won every single verdict in my favor, and these have been landmark judgments, setting the entire sports jurisprudence in India. So this was started by me in the BCCI days in 1999-2000 when I just entered practice, and then the first landmark judgment on sports came in 2004. Second came in 2014, and the third now has come in 2022. So I've been fighting this continuously from 1999 without a break. It's been almost 25 years now. Primarily, I started off by saying that there is a pattern in Indian sport administration where same people have been continuing in office for more than 20, 30, 40 years, uninterrupted. So these elections are sham elections. There's no democracy in these bodies. And therefore, I highlighted those issues, that there should be a restricted age and restricted tenure. Subsequently, during the course of these litigations, the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports was forced to come up with sports legislation of sorts, although there is no act, but a sports code was introduced on 31st of March 2011. And subsequently, that became the law of the land because that was challenged by IOA and many other sports federations. It was upheld when I appeared in that matter as well in 2014, and that's the landmark judgment of 2014, that sports code is the law of the land, and everybody has to follow it. It was challenged in Supreme Court, and Supreme Court didn't stay it, so that continues to be the law of the land. And then comes the 2022 petition, or the judgment, where now the entire sports code key provisions, I had taken 13 such provisions to the court, like restricted age, restricted tenure, electoral college to be free and fair, how the electoral college is being manipulated, how it's an unended cabinet of sorts, so office bearers are umpteen when you don't need those many, how minimum 25% players, not only any player, but eminent players with outstanding merit should be part of the General Assembly of every national sports or state and district association bodies, and also in the 25% should be in the executive committee with voting rights, so that players govern, themselves. It's like, can you imagine a bar council body being governed by doctors? It's impossible, right? It has to be governed by lawyers. A medical council being governed by lawyers. It has to be governed by doctors. It's only sports where anybody and everybody governs players and sports persons except the sports persons themselves. I mean, what kind of nonsense is this? So therefore, that's the biggest issue where I want to give a swaraj to players. It should be, yes, they should be regulated. Yes, they can't be left unaccountable. It can't be a non-transparent, opaque body. But it should not be the politicians of this country and the bureaucrats of this country who will tell a player how to manage themselves. It will be the players themselves who will manage themselves. So that's been my biggest fight, to get these politicians and politics out of sports of India, and to have Swaraj of these people where they govern themselves. And here we are only talking about a minimum of 25%. It's like a scheduled caste, scheduled tribe minimum reservation that you are actually wanting to give to these players. They are being treated even worse than a SC, ST or a OBC in their own field. And there are fiefdoms which have been created, very well cultured, well protected, well nurtured fiefdoms, where these people just, once they come in, unless and until they eat into the vitals of their own sports bodies like a termite, they don't leave, and they have to be thrown out. So I've been thankfully successful in throwing out the previous lot. The challenge is, now I call the stage of sports as Rabderization of Indian sports. Lalu has gone, Rabdi Devi has come in. So all remote controls, de facto, sons, brothers, daughters, daughter-in-laws, all of them are now governing these bodies. Hopefully, like there was an end of the Rabderization in Indian politics, there will be soon an end of Rabderization of sports. The challenge now is, we can see that more and more corporates are coming in. And we can already see that most of the sports bodies, very popular sports bodies, have been taken over completely at a pittance by Reliance Group. So it's very unfortunate that now the corporatization of sports has happened. It's good that these people should come in. A Reliance is required, a Tata is required, a Birla is required, Mahindra is required, but they are required at the back end. They are not required to control sports and to milk sports. Unfortunately, that's the latter is happening, and that shouldn't happen. So there are challenges at different levels. I didn't go to the Supreme Court. I had a landmark verdict in my favor. It was the Indian Olympic Association which challenged it in the Supreme Court, and there is no stay of that judgment, thankfully. So the Delhi High Court judgment runs the field. In fact, there are orders after orders where the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports has been directed in writing by the courts through orders that you will not allow a single federation to go in for election unless and until Rahul Mehra judgment has been fully complied with. And I'm sorry to say, Ministry is the biggest culprit. Ministry is the one which is actually allowing all this illegalities, willful defaults to continue, because Ministry tells them, don't worry, we will take care of you in the court. You don't have to come to the court. We will fend for you. We will fight for you. De facto fight is going on for almost last 2 years. And Ministry is defending and protecting them to the T, and not allowing the Rahul Mehra judgment to actually be implemented. So unfortunately, now the matter is in the Supreme Court, but fortunately the Chief Justice of India is the one who's looking into it, and I'm very hopeful. Matter is actually coming up tomorrow as we speak, and I'm hopeful that if the final hearing happens, there will be a phenomenal landmark verdict blessed by the Supreme Court of India, right by the top court, Chief Justice of India, because I feel the time has come for in India where there's so much of talent. There's so much of raw talent in our country lying in the tier 2, tier 3 cities and in the villages, that if we are able to just break these shackles, break these, remove these obstacles from the way of these athletes, I have no doubt in my mind in the next 20 years, maybe 15 to 20 years, we can be at the top of the Olympic podium and the medal tally. That's the kind of talent this country has. Unfortunately, like my the Olympian that I really idolize is Abhinav Bindra, because he's a man with spine. He doesn't give up. He fights, and he says what is correct. He calls spade a spade, and so does Neeraj Chopra. So I'm sure, but there's some madness to this, that all gold medalists have a certain kind of a mindset, and which is why they are able to get to the gold podium, number one. And he said in his book, and I often quote this everywhere, that athletes in India win medals despite the system, not because of it. And that sums up the entire Indian administration. It's despite these politicians in sports who have nothing to do with sports but to milk sports and the platform. Despite these bureaucrats who have, at every step of the way, they create obstacles and hurdles. Obviously, aberrations are there, exceptions are there. There are great probably bureaucrats, and there are great politicians, but probably you can count them on your fingertips. So those are exceptions. But majority of them are there for their own selfish interest. They are conflicted in their approach, and therefore all they can think is not beyond their own nose. They can't think for them. They can only think for themselves. They can't think for the athlete. India needs a system where athlete first is a system. So anything and everything that an athlete needs at that level should be given to him as a red carpet. The government of India is doing a lot, but where is the accountability of these federations? Why are we allowing, earlier Congress used to do this. They used to fill in all these bodies with their own political masters, and now BJP has learned the trick from Congress, and they're exactly trying to get all their political leaders in different bodies. So we see it across the sports, and the more money the sports has, bigger the politician. So it's unfortunate. All of this shouldn't happen. We should bring it to an end, and I believe that Supreme Court will do so.
So what will be your expectations from the verdict which is going to be tomorrow for Vinesh Phogat now?
See, whether I'm a lawyer for Vinesh or not, I'm a sports person at heart. I'm a sports lover at heart. I'm a big patriot. I'm a person who wants only India to prosper, and Indian national flag to be hoisted out at the Olympics, and the national anthem to play. So that opportunity has gone, because Olympics is now over. over. But I hope the last final justice is actually met, and Vinesh does get a verdict in her favor. It's a tough one. We all know that. But I believe, there is a larger force, and billion plus prayers will definitely do some magic, I guess. So it's not, I don't take my strength more from the legal standpoint or as a lawyer, but I would like to, for once, draw my strength from the prayers and the hope that this country has for Vinesh, and for the upright approach of Vinesh, the way she has fought over the last 1.5 years, the way the entire system was pitted up against her, and yet she came as a champion. I think she deserves, the least she deserves is an Olympic silver medal.
So here we are with Senior Advocate Rahul Mehra clearly telling that athletes' interests should be a priority for all the federations and not their own political wishes.